Welcome back, YouTubers, to another NXT review with me, Mr. Parkin, on behalf of the British Rest, bringing my full beard and my red hoodie once again. If you have any thoughts and comments on the show, please let me know down in that comment section below. And last week we were in Columbus, Ohio, the first time I believe they took NXT on the road, and the show they recorded there I thought had a real different feel towards it, and because of that it came across as a very good show to me. This week they went back to the Full Sail Universities, the usual location for NXT tapings, and this was like a special show before WrestleMania. We had only 2 matches on this show with a load of backstage segments, an NXT Women's Championship match and an NXT Championship match. So we had 2 sort of big-ish matches going on here, especially the main event, and I'll talk more in depth about these 2 matches in what should be a very short NXT review prior to WrestleMania. So we open up this week's edition of NXT with the NXT Women's Championship match between Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. And I think we're all very familiar how Alexa Bliss got this opportunity. Last week she had a match against Sasha Banks and she won via countout in her hometown of Columbus, Ohio. And, last week in Columbus, Ohio, even though it was her hometown, the crowd, they didn't really seem to get behind her much. They seemed to be a little bit more behind Sasha Banks. And, I stated my reasons last week, why that could have been the case, but it definitely felt back at Full Sail University that Alexa Bliss did a better job of getting the crowd on her side. They started off kind of 50-50, and then the more the match went on, and this match got quite a good amount of time, considering Alexa Bliss was in the match and she's somewhat green, the more the time went on, the more Alexa Bliss managed to get the crowd on her side, and that was a good sign for a babyface that is essentially quite new on the scene, coming back from that nose injury. And this is also definitely Alexa Bliss's best match since she's been in NXT, no doubt. There's no real surprise here. She's with Sasha Banks, who is a very good hand in the ring, so I'm not really too surprised there. It was a good, solid match between these 2, kind of what you expect when you put Sasha Banks in there with a somewhat green babyface, and Sasha Banks won clean. I can't really have too many complaints about this match, to be honest. So it's time for that part of the review where I kind of talk about all the backstage stuff and get that all done in one. Next week's main event is going to be Tyler Breeze versus Hideo Itami. It's going to be 2 out of 3 falls match. That should definitely be a really good main event for NXT, even though I hope this is the last time these 2 guys actually face off, because I believe this will be the 4th time now in a matter of weeks/months that they faced off, and I'd prefer these 2 to just move the fuck on from each other, because I'm kind of tired of seeing these 2 face off in the ring now. They'll have a really good main event next week, but again, it's not necessarily about match quality, it's just about keeping things fresh in the NXT. And if you have these 2, keep fighting, and then things really ain't going to feel fresh, and the Hideo Itami and Tyler Breeze characters are just going to fall because of it. Also, did we see an Emma heel turn on Bayley this week? That's kind of the way it looked by the way the segment played out. It seems like they're trying to do something a little bit different with Emma in the way she's talking about the crowd getting behind Bayley and how she should be a little bit more aggressive and stuff like that. So this character change could be very beneficial to Emma, because the whole Dynasty thing, it got her quite far. She got to the WWE roster, Raw and SmackDown, and then she's kind of back in NXT, and you're kind of like, well, that gimmick really hasn't worked out for her. We should try something different. Also, a good thing for NXT, there will be a Battle Royal at WrestleMania Access, which I believe is actually happening today on the Thursday when I'm recording this video. And the winner of that Battle Royal will be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So I'm quite pleased to see there's going to be at least 1 guy from NXT in there. And, while I don't think an NXT guy will win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, I think that's more suited for a guy like Ryback or something, I don't know, or a Mizdow perhaps. But what a great beginning platform this could be for a debuting NXT guy to actually get a real foothold on the main roster. Debuting at WrestleMania and winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, that would definitely be a way for a new NXT guy and the first time on the main roster to really make a stance and really show himself as a future potential star for the WWE. It won't happen. It's just wishful thinking on my part. Speaking of WrestleMania, they did a WrestleMania preview here. And, as I was watching it, I was kind of tuning in and out a little bit here and there. And as I just watched it, I was like, wow. I really have no incentive to watch WrestleMania this year. Not even the fact that it's WrestleMania is really going to draw me towards it. I was watching this preview. I was just like, meh. This WrestleMania doesn't seem like anything I should really go out of my way for. And I've got to that point in the WWE now where it has to be really good in order for me to go out of my way to get it, because I just think otherwise it's going to be complete crap. Which is why I don't really talk about WWE, Raw and SmackDown anymore, which is why I mainly stick to NXT. Because the TakeOver shows are generally pretty good. Let's face it, every TakeOver show has been either good or great. So I know I'm going to get a good show out of them, out of NXT. WWE, never be too sure about. Anyway, enough negative talk about WrestleMania. I want to talk about this main event that happened on this show. So our main event of the evening was Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. I've been looking forward to this match for quite some time now. Honestly, I thought they would probably do this at a TakeOver event, but it seemed like they wanted to push it forward to the pre-WrestleMania NXT. Maybe they're trying to make these shows feel a bit special before WrestleMania. Who knows? But in terms of the build-up here, let's forget the build-up they've done so far with, you know, Kevin Owens winning the belt, and then Finn Balor on the same night defeating AJ Neville in the finals of that #1 contendership tournament. Let's just forget about that for a second. This segment had, I believe, over half of the show devoted to it. They really seemed to do a good job here of building this matchup with a big match feel. And you don't get that very often with main events, generally. They had video packages of the two wrestlers. They had backstage interviews with them both. They had the ring introductions. They gave it plenty of time, like I said. Over half the show was dedicated to this main event and hyping it up. Although, I will say this, a couple of negatives before I go on to the positives. There were about 3 or 4 ad breaks throughout this whole match, which got a lot of time, which were mostly WrestleMania related. Also, at one point in the match, Finn Balor did his finishing moves, which was the stomp from the top rope. But you wouldn't have fucking known it, because the commentary team never made us for a minute feel like it was his finishing move and that it could potentially be the end of the match in a 1-2-3 count. They didn't do it. And why the hell is a guy of Kevin Owens' size overselling a clothesline like that by flipping his ass off? Now, I really didn't understand that, especially the way they've been booking him. How would a clothesline from a guy Finn Balor's size send Kevin Owens flying? Like I'm doing a flip. It just wouldn't happen. But anyway, they're minor negatives of this match. I felt these guys went out there, had a very good match, which I believe would have been definitely worthy of a main event of NXT TakeOver. I really do. I felt these guys went out there, they had a good match, told a good story. I think the whole Finn Balor knee injury really added to this match a lot, especially when he hit his finisher, which is the double stomp on the back, and couldn't make the cover because of his injured knee, and that allowed Kevin Owens to get the win. I thought that was a nice little story element added there. But overall, just the way this match was built and had a big match feel to it really enhanced this match and the way it went over. And it sometimes shows you that, yes, you need to deliver on the match, and yes, you need to deliver on the day, but the way you build it up really helps emphasize when you do really give a good match like that and really try and tell a story. Now, there were a few negative aspects in this match like I went through, but mostly overall I was very happy with the way this match turned out. You made Finn Balor look like a real threat. You know, you look at the way they booked Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor hit his finisher, could have had this guy beat if he didn't have his knee fucked over by Kevin Owens. And yeah, I just thought overall this was done very well. I really do. Definitely would have been worthy of an NXT Championship match at a TakeOver special, which is kind of what I thought they would do with this match. But overall, mainly because of this main event, that's what did this show for me. I think if you're going to watch this show, you can watch the Women's Championship match. That was a decent match. But definitely watch this main event between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, and you will see just how much talent they have on NXT right now. I mean, Kevin Owens, just look at Kevin Owens. This guy feels different. This guy feels special. NXT, which Triple H is now making into its own sort of independent brand, I think, independent scene kind of brand. It's kind of full of small wrestlers, you know, guys that are really good in the ring and do all the flips and stuff. And you have Kevin Owens, who is being booked realistically as a heel monster because he's much bigger than these small guys. And that's what I like about Kevin Owens. That's what I like about NXT right now. The main guy on NXT is the guy that doesn't really seem to fit NXT. He's the big guy. He's the fucking guy with a massive gut, even though he's lost a lot of weight ever since he's come to NXT. So that's what I'm liking about NXT right now. You know, Kevin Owens is going to be going off for knee surgery, so we will miss him a little bit. Whether or not he'll still be there talking on the mic or in backstage segments, who knows? But this whole show lately has really hinged on the way NXT have booked Kevin Owens. And this is why a few weeks ago I asked in my video, is Kevin Owens already ready for the WWE main roster? Because on the way his character's being booked on NXT, and I know things will be different when he gets promoted to WWE Raw and SmackDown. I know things will be different there, and he may not be booked as well. He's he'll be a smaller fish in a bigger pond, etc. But goddamn, the way they booked this guy and the way he's come in NXT, just brilliant. Fantastic the way they've done this. I'm really pleased with how they've done Kevin Owens. I've always, ever since I watched ROH, I've always seen a lot in Kevin Steen. I always thought he would do really well in WWE. And now it seems like he is. So if you have any comments on this, if you have any comments on this show, which I thought was very good, mainly because of this really good main event, which took over half of the show, you let me know down in the comment section below. And we'll see if Tyler Breeze and Hideo Itami can top this. It'll do well to do that. See you next week, guys. Bye-bye.